So I'm Angus Florance, so I work for Yammer and now Microsoft. I'm part of the Yammer engagement team. So my role, since we got acquired by Microsoft, my role has really been about educating Microsoft and their field and their partners about Yammer and how they can go and sell it, enable their customers, they can get value from it, and really support the customer success team in how they can do their job as well. So it's really it's much more internal facing, but tries to help them understand what this new tool I've just spent all this money on is and get the most value from it. So there was lots of talk about storytelling training probably for the last 12 months. So Steve pushed it a lot. We heard rumours, not rumours, but lots of people were trying to get people to tell stories and the value of storytelling. I was probably a little bit late to the party on that. I didn't quite see the value of it. I kind of got it, but I didn't think there was a process to it. You could tell a story and people would get it and you'd move on. And so it happened for probably 12 months, and we had our kickoff in March early this year, and Steve actually ran a couple of sessions around, 10-minute sort of Ignite talks about storytelling and the foundation stuff, and he actually used the Anecdote pieces and sort of talked about the framework of how Anecdote tells stories, that kind of stuff. And that's when I actually found it really interesting, because I didn't realize there was, you could sort of put it in a process like that. And once I found that, I thought it was quite cool, and I actually did a bit of research on my own on the Anecdote website, and I did the story, check if this is a story, and I failed miserably at that, so I knew there was obviously something I had to learn. So then, as part of my new role, to sort of enable the field and enable the CSMs to do their job, the storytelling training actually landed on me to sort of get it organised and set that up. So that's how I got involved with it, and I met Sean and I met Mark, and instantly just talking to those guys and hearing the way they tell the stories, engaged me. And I remember leaving the hub with Steve, and I was just saying, Steve, this is awesome. We need to do this. We need to do this now. So yeah, we've got that set up, and I think we were ready for it. I think it was probably the right time, because it had been about 12 months. So a lot of people probably were in the same boat as me. We weren't quite on the edge like Steve and Nick and those guys who knew we had to do it. But I slowly got there, and I think by the time sort of August, September came around, we did it. Everyone was on board, and they kind of knew what had to happen. Went through it. So yeah. So we were lucky in that we were the last of the 4 cities to do the training. And the beauty of the way that we did it, we used it using Yammer. So even before it came here, we knew we could see what the other guys were learning. We could see they were already posting videos of their shitty first drafts, already posting their example stories. Mark was already on the network helping us, so we kind of knew. And not only that, we could also see the excitement from the other guys that had already done it, who were posting how much they loved it and what they were getting from it and how they're going to use these with their different customers. So I think, to be fair, we had pretty high expectations by the time it came around to us, because everyone said it was amazing. And I think it was. We were quite lucky. We only had a small group, so there was 4 of us, and we was very intimate. And Mark is an amazing facilitator. He really took us through, and again, for someone who probably didn't, for myself, who didn't quite understand the value of it, after that workshop, it made perfect sense to me. And again, I try and use all the examples as much as I can in everything that I do. Yeah. Recently, I've been doing a lot of presentations all around the globe. We've been everywhere. And I've been trying to put in the different skills that we learned across those presentations. So starting off with a connection story, why are we here? And that it builds amazing rapport that I've found since I've known how to do that. And you can work out who your crowd is. You get those. I'm trying to think of a better word for it. Rapport, probably just amazing rapport with the audience to start off with. There's a great example where we were doing a 2-day training workshop in Tokyo, which is traditionally quite a tough crowd. The Japanese guys don't give you much. They're very attentive and they listen a lot, but it's very hard to sort of get feedback from them on how you're doing. And we told a story about Red Robin, which is a customer of ours, and how they use Yammer and they got the value. And the gist of the story that we tell them is, it's the burger problem. It's a burger problem. And we told that at the start of the 2-day session as a story format. And throughout the rest of the 2 days, these guys, every time we talked about something in Yammer, that's the burger problem. That's the burger problem. They would refer back to this story that we told at the start. And it was such a simple way to get our point across. But before, I think I would have struggled to do that as easily as we did with this one thing. And now, every time I tell that story, customers, Microsoft internally, customers, oh, that's the burger problem you told us about. That's the burger problem. It's just perfect. So that generally works really well. So Red Robin is a big restaurant chain in the US, so family restaurant. And when you think about how often it takes to change a menu, there's a huge amount of work and process in there. You know, you've got to do tests, and do people like it, and what's the feedback, and the process can generally take about 18 months. So Red Robin knew this was a problem, and they could go two ways. They could either not change the menu and keep it the same to avoid the risk, or, you know, to keep up with customer demands, who want lower calorie burgers or different, you know, the competition's doing something different. They realized they had to be able to increase that speed of change of things. So they did a bunch of different ways to do feedback. They tried to use Facebook, but customers weren't really talking to them about what their burger was like. So instead they used Yammer and gave it to their frontline workers. And so the people who were actually serving the customers would then report back the feedback they were getting straight into Yammer, which would go back to HQ, and they could tweak and adjust the menu, this one particular burger ingredients, you know, and they did it in 4 weeks instead of 18 months, which is huge. And you relate that back to almost any frontline worker that talks to customer day to day. They're the ones that have the feedback. They're the ones who are talking to the customer. They're the ones that know what they want and what they don't like. And so no matter who you're talking to, whether it's a bank and it's their retail staff, when they get a problem back from the customer and they feed that back to headquarters, like, that's the burger problem. I think eliciting stories is one of the key ones that I learned as well. What I really liked, and in fact it wasn't necessarily part of the training I got, but it was a good way to kick off how to pull out a story. So when we go and meet a customer for the first time, or they're new and they're not quite sure, and then maybe they've been using the product for a while, one really simple question that I start to ask now is, you know, what's been your favourite Yammer conversation? And that automatically sort of triggers them into this story mode, and, you know, and then it is that when was it, who was involved, what happened, and all of a sudden they're telling you the story about how valuable their network is to them, and it kind of does the job itself, which is cool. So every time I speak, I was at a conference last week at a booth, and every person came up to me and said, we use Yammer, but we don't really know what it's for, how to get value. So I just say, tell me what your favourite thread on Yammer was. And the stuff is incredible. They're talking about how much money they saved, or the CEO gets involved, and these things are like, there's your value, that's your business case. And like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so they go back to do that. It was around the time that we did the training, so I don't know, it might have been during, Microsoft was doing an internal audit of all their comms channels. So their intranet, their emails, the Yammer network, all, you know, the off-site meetings, the all-company meetings, everything. And they picked a hand group of maybe 40 people from around the organisation to kind of give feedback. And I think it went over about 3 weeks, and twice a week for a couple of hours you have to answer these questions. And I think I did the first half, and then I did this training with Anecdote, and then I went back and did the second half. And it was funny because from my understanding is if you told stories properly and people got what you're trying to do, the internal comms almost becomes redundant to me. I couldn't see where you would use internal comms if you know, directors told stories properly, everyone communicated around story, and people got on board with that. And I raised this several times in the thing, and they said this is, you know, interesting feedback. But it's, you know, it's just something that I find that's fascinating. Like, if I think about it, Yammer, you know, we got up to 450, 500. We're still quite a big company. We don't have any internal comms because we work out in the open. Everybody knows what's happening, you know, and we, you know, people tell stories, and we're getting better and better at telling stories on how we work. And I look at how big companies, and I think back to the ones I used to work at, how they have the internal comms to like structure these corporate messages that no one reads or cares and forget about. But if you revert that and you just have Pip tell a story, that's what you remember, you know, and you relate what they're trying to do to a story. I thought that was really fascinating. But I didn't win many votes with that one.